Just wait a couple of moments and then I'll get started on today's mini up close and personal. Just make sure, yeah, you can see the mat, can't you? So, today's little workshop is focused on shoulder stand. So shoulder stand is, as I said in my post, BKS Iyengar's queen of all asanas. So the headstand is the king, shoulder stand is the queen. Headstand can take a little bit more practice, but it is completely doable for all. So I will do some workshops and recordings on headstand in time, but for today it's shoulder stand. So why is shoulder stand so powerful? One obvious reason, we're inverted. So whenever you're inverted, our bodies get an opportunity to allow fluids that otherwise remain stagnant in our ankles and down in our legs to flow the other way. So on Monday, I was talking about the lymphatic system and how it's really important for us to be inverted and to move around, why yoga is so good for immunity, because it allows our lymph fluid to move more easily. It's also good from an inversion standpoint because less pressure on the heart and blood's flowing into your brain, so your brain is being hydrated. If you think of your brain as an organ, and we burn a huge amount of mental energy, so it has a cooling, surprisingly, because you might think heating, but it's actually a cooling effect on the brain, so it's very calming. The throat lock that we come into is also great for the thyroid gland, so a similar effect to hair pose, where you kind of come onto the crown of your head. It's also the inversion for your abdominal area. Again, this is also to do with gravity. If you think about it, we usually sat hunched over, even though I try to be conscious about it, like our abdominal area is quite hunched. So shoulder stand just gives new movement and flow to your abdominal region, also to your pelvis, center of gravity again. The best realignment for your pelvis is legs on a chair, which I've shown you before, which is incredibly restful. But shoulder stand is also good for that. So I'm going to, there are numerous advantages and benefits, but those are the most key. And because we've been focused on the lymphatic system and immunity this week, that's why I thought it was good to end with an inversion. So I'm going to jump back onto my mat. Hopefully you can see me. You can lower down safely, give your legs a bit of a squeeze. Any opportunity to massage that lower back. And then you can do two things. If shoulder stand seems a bit extreme, two things I should say to be mindful of. If you have high blood pressure, don't stay in for too long. And if you're pregnant, be mindful of this pose. If you're a seasoned practice yogi, you may feel that you're happy to do it, but otherwise I would recommend not coming into heavy inversions. But to start with, you can come over into plow. So this in itself is a really lovely pose because it gives your back a really great stretch. So if this is all you fancy doing, you are coming into an inversion already and you're giving your back a great stretch. What you can also do is rest your knees on your forehead, which is heaven. I've talked, whether or not I've talked on these sessions, about deep touch. So deep pressure touch is very inhibiting of the fight and flight sympathetic nervous system. Forehead, obviously your frontal lobe sits behind your forehead, so it's very calming. So if you just fancy just coming in and staying like this, then you absolutely can. If you want to bring your knees to your temples and give them a bit of a rub, then that's also very calming. This might look as though it's a lot harder than it is. But for most people, coming to somewhere like this is
is okay. You might not be able to get your feet to the mat. Don't worry about it. And then, importantly, hands on back. They're your support, okay? Your head, you don't want to be turning your head from side to side. You want it to keep safe and in line. And then, if you just want to kind of play around, seeing how it feels to raise one leg up, the other leg up. And again, you can build up to this pose. So if you just want to do this for a couple of days, do it. And then if you want to try coming up, it's quite hard to instruct when I'm up there. But what you're looking for is alignment of ankles over knees, over hips, which is quite hard to know if you're doing it. I don't even know if I'm exactly doing it. I quite often find that my ankles are actually slightly this way. But as much as you can, be mindful of that. So I'm going to come back in. And you can stay here for a few minutes if you fancy it, if you can, if you feel comfortable. Or you can have a bit of fun. As I said, you can just lower the legs down. Come back and rest, which is, it's so therapeutic. It's one of my favourite places to be. And then hands, arms, back down on the mat. And whilst you're here, because we were doing it earlier, you can just, when I say doing it earlier, we're doing it on Monday. Good for the lymphatic system, good for immunity. Just give your feet a bit of a pedal. You can do this in the shoulder stand as well, but it's just easier. It's just easier to do it here. And then you can lower the feet down and then hug them back in to the chest. And then you can roll, I'm not going to do it now because I'll be facing away from you. You can roll onto your right side in a fetal position. So I'm going to roll onto the left. You can roll onto the right and put your hands under your head. And that's we always finish on the right in a yoga practice because of the flow through your left nostril is very calming. So when you come onto your right, really imagine that you're breathing in through your left nostril. Also, it takes the pressure off your heart. Again, if you're pregnant, then you'd be coming more onto your left from kind of later into your pregnancy. But as I said, unless you're a really seasoned yogi and you feel really happy doing shoulder stand, then just leave those big heavy inversions. You don't need to be doing them when you're pregnant. But I'll just show you once more, just coming into shoulder stand, and then I'll leave that with you for today. So coming up and back, bringing the hands, supporting your back, and then lifting one leg, a bit of a play, and then you might feel you want to bring both up. And then slowly bring yourself back down. Give your temples a bit of a squeeze. So you can either have your arms down here or you can grab onto your ankles and just slowly make your way down. And then again, you can do a bit of pedaling out, or you can do some scissor legs if you fancy doing a bit of core practice. And then rest your legs down. So why I did rolling onto the right here is because you quite often do shoulder stand at the end of a class. Before you come onto your right, if you want to do shoulder stand and then a mini shavasana, great. And you can do that in Supta Baddha Konasana with your soles of your feet together and legs out wide. You can place some cushions under your knees, or you can just come down, legs out wide, hand on heart, hand on chest, hands down by your side. You have a cushion on your belly, have a cushion under your knees, you can have something across your eyes, just whatever makes you feel really comfy. And then you can just rest for a few moments. So I'm coming onto my left, usually I come onto my right. And that's shoulder stand for you today. So I hope you enjoyed that. Next week is our theme is actually going to be grief, which is one I balanced whether or not to go there, because it is something that is so very much with so many people at the moment. But I am going to do it, and I've got the most wonderful person that's coming to speak to us next Wednesday, who's the only person that I would go to, and I'm really excited to be sharing the time with her. So I hope it's a week you'll enjoy. But have a lovely weekend and enjoy practicing your shoulder stand and your little immunity sequence.